That's a good
I don't know
thing.
if you can relate. It's like some days you just like boom, 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 boom. And then other days you're like, I have never had a thought in my life and I don't know how to use words. But I feel like I'm talky today. So it's good.
Yay, we've got a talking day. Yes, I totally resonate
Yeah.
because so many times the things that I do or the things that come out of my mouth, I'm like, I know I'm an intelligent person, but
Oh,
there's
yeah.
just no words,
Yeah.
even midway
Yeah.
through talking sometimes.
Yes.
And you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
All the
word for
time.
the thing
Yeah.
that does the
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
Get there
Thank,
with me. Get there with me. Yeah.
Thankfully, Brad knows me so well that he even knows
Yes.
what the thing is or what the
So
bizzo is.
good.
He can kind of piece
Yeah.
it together.
Love it.
Welcome to Wise Owl Conversations, the podcast where we talk about life, work, and the many ways that our brains are wired. I'm your host, Amy Milnes, otherwise known as the Wise Owl Coach, and I'm so glad that you're here joining us on this journey. This is a space for honest, relaxed conversations with all of my different guests where we talk about navigating life as a neurodivergent person or supporting someone who is. My intention is that through sharing these stories and through our shared experiences, that wherever you're tuning in from, that you feel a little more seen, a little more understood, and a little less alone. So let's jump in. I'm so excited. I feel like I say this with every guest, but I so mean it. And I've mindfully selected who I've asked to come on to the podcast. So I am super excited that you're here today. I have with me here today the beautiful and amazing Samantha King, otherwise known as Sam. Sam, welcome to Wise Owl Conversations. You are, just to give some context for the listeners or viewers, you are my husband Brad's cousin, and your cousin Fran told me when we were visiting and doing our tour of Australia that you're one of 150 first cousins.
Yes.
Did you know that?
That wild. I know. That is crazy.
150, that's so many people. And while we've never really met in person before, we haven't met in person, we've been connected for quite a while on socials, and I've loved following your journey. I love your energy. I love what you share. You're always very raw, real, authentic. What you see is what you get. And I love that you sort of encouraged me to embrace that today with my puffy eyes, with what I've got going on in my personal life. Because there's so much of what you share that I resonate with, and I feel like I kind of live very similar values and morals to how you live, which is awesome. You speak your truth so openly, and even though I've been watching your journey, I've only recently listened to some of your podcast episodes, which you shared with me. So I'll link that below as well for anyone that's following along. And something that I learned about you through listening to that is that through going through your incredible weight loss journey, and at the start of your weight loss journey, you were prescribed some medication that sort of changed how things showed up for you with being organized and being able to finish a thing, and noticing some of those ADHD. So we'll definitely circle back to that in a minute, because I want to give a bit more of a background from what I know about you. So you spent an incredibly long amount of time in the corporate banking world, and you've recently, in January 2024, launched your very own business, SK and Associates Financial Services. And I absolutely love your latest branding photos. They're so cool. There's so much color. And even your glasses today, like the colors are just so cool. And I love even just the opening statement on your website that your SK and Associates Financial Services, we're here to make finance feel more human. Like, could there be a better summary of like an approachable way of doing things? Another thing that really stood out to me was seeing you listed as a panel member for International Women's Day in 2025. I haven't been on socials for International Women's Day this year. And you use the word multipreneur under your name. Love that. I've never heard it explained like that before. I love that description. And something I really wanted to touch on as well, that you're also incredibly passionate about giving back. And of course, we need to acknowledge your life outside of the working world as well. Your three beautiful dachshunds, dackies. I always struggle with how...
Snags.
Saucies, snags, yeah, they're so cute, that regularly make an appearance on your socials, along with the beautiful life that you've built with Courtney and with your kids. Sam, I'm so excited to have you join this conversation today and to dive into your story. So I've given a bit of an
Yeah.
overview, a helicopter
That was
ride.
cool to hear it back. I was like, oh, okay,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
me. That's me. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
it's like
me.
I'm on This Is Your Life. Like, remember that TV show?
Yes. Is there anything else that you would want to add to that from your perspective or,
Well, but
extend on? There's a
particularly
lot.
yeah, how we know each other, because it's
Yes.
funny. Yeah, exactly. You're Brad's lovely wife, and we hadn't met, and I was racking my brain going, have we met? Like, I don't think we'd ever met. And I'm like, I have felt like connected to you and vibing with you forever. I don't even know how long you've been with Brad. And I was like, I'm sure we've never met. And then I thought, gosh, have we? And I've just forgotten, like maybe at a funeral or something. But no, I'm glad you called it out, because
No, we haven't, and I
we
feel like I know
haven't.
you as well.
Yes,
So
I love that.
Brad and I had our 8-year wedding anniversary the other day, and 16 years together.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that's probably
Yeah.
why it feels like we've met because we've
Yes.
been following each other's
Yes,
journey for so long.
exactly. For some time. That's so cool. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, gosh, where to start? So much to add. I guess we're just going to chat through, right? Like, I don't know where you
Yeah,
want to start
wherever
or
you
what.
want to start from.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Um,
just whatever feels
okay.
comfortable.
Yeah. Open book. You mentioned about the weight loss journey, and that being kind of a catalyst for me understanding a bit about my brain. And I think that's a journey that's really, I really love talking about. So I think it's something that, I am very passionate about body positivity and healthy living. However, we can hold space for two things at once, right? We can have conversations around discomfort in our body without it being like a shameful discussion. So just kind of preface that, because I know it can be tough for people to hear, maybe assumptions that like bigger bodies are not healthy or they're not okay. But I'm just talking about my experience. And for me at that point in time of my life, that I was not healthy and my body was bigger. And I kind of explained that when I think back to that point in time, so all the way up until my 30s, so that was the year I turned 30 that I went and got that medication, that I always explain, like, my brain is running a million miles an hour, but my body and my energy doesn't keep up. Now, my energy on the outside seemed like it would, but on the inside, it didn't. So I was really physically going downhill so rapidly. And when I think about life, like I got married at 19, had babies at 20. Like my 20s were survival mode. And there was a lot of healing, and there was there was no go from childhood into adulthood. It was just like bam. And so I understand there's a lot of context around that. But my experience was like, I am going and going and going and going and going. And I feel like I'm operating at this huge speed, whether it's work, kids, life, like total perfectionist tendencies. Yet my body was getting further and further away from me and just more and more unhealthy. And I was experiencing symptoms and anxiety and physical symptoms, and obviously all the discomfort that comes from being in a bigger body, and going to a doctor. And I always say it was the best thing that ever happened for me, was going through all the tests and having all the, because I would think like, I'm trying to be healthy, I'm trying to do the things, and I'd wake up in the morning and I just couldn't do it, and I'd go a little, and you'd get to the night and you'd think that, shame and frustration and anger at yourself for not doing what you needed to do. So I thought there must be something wrong with me. It's my thyroid, it's my hormones, it's something. So I went to the doctor, had a bunch of tests done, and he said to me, Sam, you're not unwell, your symptoms are obesity related. Like he essentially said to me, Sam, you are fat, and that is why you're experiencing what you're experiencing. And I think that was the most amazing thing. It was horrible to hear, but it was
Yeah,
actually
that would have been
incredibly, yeah, it was
confronting.
very, very, but it was delivered with such honesty. And he was like, and I have a solution that can help you, which was Duramine. Yeah.
And that's the medication.
And I was like, no, I've heard horrible things about it, and da, 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 da. So, walked through that journey, and he explained, a lot of people take it. They love a quick weight loss story. We all do, instant gratification. And then they love the weight loss, and it's all about the weight loss. And then, of course, you stop eating. And then when you start eating again, it's not good. However, when I took that medication, what I noticed was all of the things for the last 10 years that I'd been in my brain, like trying and mapping out and planning and strategizing, and I'm going to change my life tomorrow. All of a sudden, I was able to wake up in the morning and go for that walk that I'd been promising myself I'd go on, and eat the structured food that I needed to eat to get my body back under control and my weight and health and sugar levels and all of those things. And so I was just able to execute on these things that had been like in my mind. And then as a result of that, my weight dropped off and my health improved. And that was 8 years ago, which is crazy. And it completely transformed my life. And it was I've seen a psychologist for a very long time. I think it's a very important part of healthcare and life. And
Agree.
she had this is very cliche, but I'd said to her about this experience, and she said, yep. And she's like sort of looking at me like leading. And so remember we talked about ADHD? And I'm like, no. She's like, yes, years ago. She's like, yeah. So sounds very much like you're having a response like a person with an ADHD brain might to a stimulant medication.
And then the whole world just
oh my gosh
changed.
And so
yeah,
it really, really did. And I think I don't know whether it's what is it that the physical health started to improve, and so I allowed myself to start focusing on mental health, or whether it was all together, I don't know, but that was absolutely a catalyst for that moment and that transformation. And I think when I look at my life then, pre-diagnosis and now, or actually not diagnosis, because I was only formally diagnosed, like went through the psychiatrist to get medication about 3 or 4 years ago. So 3 years ago maybe. So, but having that conversation back then and understanding and starting to learn about it just transformed the way that I started to understand myself and accept myself and learn about myself. And if I even just visually look at how I was living only 8 years ago, that's crazy.
wow.
Only 8 years ago to now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that experience and what it led to for me.
I bet. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. And it's interesting. I'm glad that you mentioned from the perspective, it wasn't about, let's get the quick fix and let's get the medication. And then all of a sudden it's like a magic wand and everything falls into place, because so many people, I'm not sure about yourself. I'm in a lot of ADHD communities and following a lot of those sort of conversations that happen. And I think it's really important for people listening or viewing or wherever they're tuning in from to understand it's not a quick fix and it's not for everyone. No. And so all of the other things that you've mentioned that kind of came alongside it, so the, continuing on the path of getting the mental health side of things in check, as well as the physical health, so important as a complementary to understanding your brain, and every brain's different. I think that's such an important part of it as well, and how the brain impacts being able to do the thing, like
100%,
going for a walk.
Exactly. It sounds so simple. I was actually thinking before we started recording, we were having a laugh about how some days you feel chatty, and then other days we're like, oh gosh, I can't string a sentence together. And how, we think to ourselves, like, I'm an intelligent human being. Like, I can own that. I know things. And that's how I used to feel when I would, like, I cannot tell you how many diet plans and health resets and all these things I had mapped out intellectually and like convinced myself, like, I am going to embrace this and change my life. But then I couldn't do it. Like, I just couldn't execute on it. And then you think about that connection up and down with our bodies and brains. So you've got this brain that's going a million miles an hour in a body that is so physically unwell that it's just like a struggle to do daily life. And then I'm flooding it with, I was eating a lot of food that wasn't good. And I didn't even realize it. Like, my self-awareness at that point in time was so low that I would say things like, I don't eat that bad. I don't understand. And it's not until you realize like how much you are eating for survival and how much you're eating for dopamine hits and all of this, that imagine the inflammation in that body going up into a brain that's overwhelmed and then expecting it to make choices with clarity. Like, it's just so unfair that we do that to ourselves, and that we don't like step back and observe and be a little bit like, I do know, like, this is not a lack of awareness. It's not that I'm lacking intelligence on what I need to do, or I haven't had awareness around healthy living. there's something happening in me that's not taking the step. And it's like being curious about that versus shaming and, like badgering ourselves, because that's what I was doing. I was like frustrated. I was getting worse and worse and worse over years and years and years. I've always said since then, we cannot hate and shame ourselves into our healthy existence. We're just
No.
we're not going to
And let's
thrive.
be honest, as women, I'm just going to put it out there, and especially as ADHD, as neurodivergent people, we hear so much negative messaging already since day dot. Like it's in everything that you touch, it tells you you're not good enough. And so it's hard enough when the outside world is telling you that messaging. If it's also going on internally, it's almost like this uphill battle that it's not a surprise that so many people end up in that state. I'd be really curious to see, because I've also seen in a lot of the conversations that happen in like ADHD communities and stuff, when people start taking certain types of ADHD medication, some of them actually originally existed to help people with things like binge eating and stuff like that, to help with those things. So it'd be interesting. I don't know if there's any research that's been done into, or if you know of any research.
Yeah, I believe there are some places that prescribe Vyvanse off label, whatever that term is, for binge eating and shutting down that. Because it's no wonder we exist in, at a time with convenience food and things that, like, the science that goes into this stuff to make our brains light up and get excited about it. And of course, if you've got that brain that's seeking that and you're exhausted and you're overwhelmed by life, you're not going, well, I'm going to seek it through, really wholesome.
Making a salad.
Exactly. You're going, where's my quick hit? Like, that's the science that goes into that food. It's almost like, again, similar to technology, we expect us as humans to be able to withstand the billions of dollars of research and science that goes into these products to keep us captured. Yet we want to shame ourselves for not having the resilience to push back on it. Like
Yeah, and that's such an important point to make as well. So I like that you've mentioned the technology thing as well. In a previous podcast, I mentioned about cheap dopamine, and it's something that has been mentioned in a few different podcasts and YouTube, like YouTube channels and stuff like that. Sorry, there we go again with the words not coming out. YouTube, what's the thing? About cheap dopamine and how, especially with younger generations, all the tech, it's just this, like, I think a recent one that I saw was less than 4 seconds before they want to scroll on. There's no attention span, because everything is just so quickly and easily accessible and so quick and easy to move on from. And you've got your own kids, so that's another thing to navigate in your world as well, that we didn't have growing up. So it wasn't a thing to contend with.
No, and it is so tough. Like, I know we're all in it together, and some of us aren't. I've got friends with kids who are really sporty and driven, and they've found their path early in life, and that is wonderful. And so they've got great balance and discipline from an early age. Love that for them. It's not the majority. Then we have those that are really resistant to technology and just have really strict rules and boundaries. And like, no, we don't have, like, I've got friends with their 17-year-olds that can't have their phones in their rooms at bedtime. It blows my mind. And I go, oh my gosh, I wish. But then there's, I think, where I would say the majority of us sit in the middle is that, and it's not a cop out. It's not, I don't know, like displacing blame or anything like that. But I feel like we didn't really know what we were getting into. And we did actively hand addiction to our children. So in our generation, like you said, you're outside, you're playing, and really the biggest risks were whether you were going to hang out with old Johnny at the train tracks and have a ciggy at 13, and that would be a bad, pathway to the wrong side of life, right? Whereas now I see it all the time. I see people with babies, and we're handing them the technology, we're handing them the addiction, and then expecting their brains to develop healthily and expecting them to be able to resist that addiction. What? And so I have this really tricky, again, just holding space for, yes, it's a really tough thing, and I wish we knew better. I handed Lexi, my daughter, had her first iPad at 4. Why? And I was 24. So I knew nothing. And I think we, and society's
and
really...
again, let's like release the judgment and shame on ourselves for that, right? You
Yeah.
didn't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know. Other
Yeah,
people
we
didn't
didn't.
know.
We didn't know. And it's so tough because we can see the impact of it. So yes, there's that element of, okay, we have to course correct or we've got to fix it, but also um that's a big ask for, again, us. We are just humans as parents to undo this big issue. I have faith that they'll work it out themselves. I really do. I have faith that as a generation, I feel like our generation is working through the uh, convenience foods and all of that kind of easy living. That was a big wow. And then that's what we were raised on. We've gone, oh, that didn't work out so well. And I
Smoking in
feel,
the house.
yeah.
And the
And
car.
there's, who knows? There's one way or the other. They're either going to work it out themselves, and I hope so. Or like AI's coming, might take over the world. Like, let's not resist because let's just enjoy our time here. So it's
Maybe they'll be the ones that'll be ahead of us because
yeah,
they've been on the screen
exactly.
since they were
Correct. And
little.
that's so true. There's so many, like my kids are safer online than what a lot of people are. Now, they're not safe online because there are a lot of predators, and I'm not naive, but in terms of when we were younger, how many times did we hear of
Oh,
young girls going, like, meeting someone I did it. I met someone at a shopping center,
oh my
and
gosh.
it's shocking. And we did that, and we just had that naivety. I feel my kids are like, they just straight up like, Mum, why would you ever trust that or believe, like, they are like raised with that much younger. So
Which is
yeah.
a credit to you as a parent as well, that you've
Yeah.
obviously educated on all of that stuff. I
Mhm.
think that's an important thing. There was something that you said before. I'm sure it'll come back. And there's just so many bits of gold. And so this journey of, so I guess that was another thing I was going to ask as well. And feel free if you don't want to share, that's fine, or we can
Sure.
edit this out or whatever.
Yeah.
Do your kids, are your kids neurodivergent?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I have talk and cheese, and I'll talk openly and respecting privacy as well. So
Yes. Yeah.
maybe we'll decide after if it gets cut
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Totally.
so I have two children. Both of them have ADHD diagnoses, and uh, the more I learn about the wide range of how autism displays, I would very confidently say all three of us fall under that banner also. Yeah. However, not prepared to pay for a diagnosis because self-diagnosis is valid when really your intention is about learning about yourself and how do I thrive in life. Like, we don't need to pathologize it. So sometimes we do to access services. Sorry, so I shouldn't say that. But in our life right now, that's not a decision we've made. But chalk and cheese. So I have one who's very like loves learning about themselves, very self-aware, very oh my gosh, and hope it's not offensive, like we sort of say, oh, autism, like we can kind of have a joke, and we go, oh, the ADHD, like we can kind of have a joke and talk about our struggles and the strengths that we have, and it's something that they're really comfortable talking about and sharing, and they're medicated, and it's been wonderful for them, and has helped them with anxiety, just so many things, just again, the execution. So that has been the response to one. And then the other one is very reluctant. And I think a lot of this comes down to peer influence and who we surround ourselves with. It's a very cliche, but we go through our teen years and we either have a good time or not a good time. And I think, yeah, the other one, very reluctant, so has a diagnosis, will maybe take a medication for a week and then leave home for a month, and then a very self-destructive stage of life, which is very challenging as a parent, and also to have the awareness and the understanding of some of the challenges that their brain is going through, and that it's not, I think it's very tough to exist in a world where we just deem everything as behavioralism, like everything's a choice, everything's an active choice, and I don't believe that. And I think that, yeah, so yes.
That'd be tricky to
Yeah,
navigate,
yeah, it
especially
is
when
very tricky.
that age, like you said, where the hormones are changing, and that, as we know, impacts how ADHD presents as well, and the
Yeah,
brain's changing constantly and all of those things. I want to
absolutely.
just circle back on what you just said about autism, because that was actually what came up in my mind, funnily
Yes.
enough, when we were
Yeah,
talking about technology, because I
yeah.
also have seen that a lot of people a lot of, especially young people that use technology who are autistic, it helps them to self-regulate. And so there, I guess, to be inclusive, which is really what I want for this channel, and I know you're all about inclusion as well, is that sometimes there are cases where certain things can really help with those things, and self-regulating is definitely key. And it sounds like you know, the tricky teenage years, I was so dysregulated. Oh my goodness. And I don't want to make this about me, definitely not.
No, it's this is a good conversation. It is. Yeah, it's not all about me. So no, and it's hard to have that because I hear you. I look back and I think, okay, I had left home at 16. Same. That might have been, maybe even just before 16. And then, you know, you kind of look through, and again, to be inclusive, the way our brains are, they present in all different ways. And this is why labels are helpful sometimes, but they can also be restrictive, because then you can come across, well, you know, I've got that, or I've got that label and I don't do that thing, or I don't make that choice. And that's just not helpful, and it's not valid, because the experience and the way it shows up and how we respond and regulate as a result. So even some of the really high risk taking behavior is actually self-regulation, because it's seeking safety in the way that they perceive it. And it can be really counterintuitive, of course, but I look back to those teen years and I think, oh gosh, yep, I was doing that and that and that and that and that. However, I think that, and I think a lot of neurodivergent people can relate to this, where, how do I say this? Again, it's something I'm very comfortable talking about in circles where I'm, people know my intentions are, you know, positive, but I'll just share. And some of us move through the world and we get this privilege, and it's not fair and it's not right. And I don't know why the world decides it. And maybe it's because we're white-skinned or smaller bodies during early childhood, so we don't have bullying, or perhaps we present in a certain way that's perceived as socially acceptable. And if you are not perceived in that way, and therefore your early childhood experiences in school are not as breezy, then I think that takes a hit to your confidence, your self-efficacy, your, like, all of these things. Now add neurodivergence into that, and you've got, you know, you're navigating in this world that doesn't really welcome you anyway. You're kind of been told from an early age that you don't quite belong, versus it just being internal. I think that's a different experience versus maybe you've inside always felt like square peg round hole, but you can mask and show up in the world and be received well because of how you present, and that's shit. So I try to, when I think about my children, their different choices about what their lived experience has been and how they've, you know, navigated in the world and what they've experienced with bullying or different things that I didn't experience. And I think, okay, your risk-taking behaviors are very different to what mine were, because I had this drive and kind of confidence that, like, yeah, I'm going to do this, but I'll work it out. I'm going to go work and I'm going to do this and da 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 da, and I did that. Whereas I see similar risk-taking behaviors, but without the confidence, and then which leads to a very different outcome and maybe a bit of withdrawal from life, versus kind of just being a bit like sassy and I've got this and, you know, I'm going to go do it on my own, which is challenging. Yeah, because the different.
Yeah. And it is. It's such a nuanced thing, isn't it? There's no sort of one linear, and let's be honest, linear probably really isn't in our language anyway, being neurodivergent. There's not such thing as a linear path, except for I shouldn't say neurodivergent, I should say for ADHD. I was mentioning this to my one of my other podcast guests, and I almost explained it, and I don't know if it's the same for you. And it's almost like when I and I am medicated when I remember to take it. When I'm medicated, it's almost like my ADHD part of myself, and I'm explaining it in my experience that it's two parts. Some people don't experience it like that. Some people say I'm autistic and I have ADHD traits. However you describe it for yourself is your thing, but for me,
respect others.
I describe it as two parts of myself. Yeah. And when I'm on medication to help the ADHD side of myself, it's almost like then the autistic side of me goes, okay, cool. Now that that's taken care of and you're like, you're calm and you're cool and we've got stuff sort of ready to go, now we can get the thing done. Yes. And we know what we need to do step by step by step. And the autistic side of me just thrives. Also I've noticed that I've become a lot more I enjoy a lot more of my own time. I enjoy a lot
Mm,
more peace. I don't
yes,
have to be
same.
around people and like constantly like getting that dopamine hit from being around people. I actually
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
being by myself.
I think like the ADHD side, right? It is that I don't know what the science is behind this, so I'm just making it up, but kind of sounds real to me. But it feels like it's so loud and the dopamine and we're seeking the like boom, 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 that just overrides everything. So yes, while you have that need. So then if you're like constantly seeking that and perhaps you're getting it, but obviously it's temporary and then you're seeking again, but your actual life is just unraveling around you because you do actually have this need inside to have the structure and have the routine. And that's where you thrive. But if you don't have that noisy part under control, it just takes over. Like
It
yeah.
does.
And so and again, it comes back to that. Like I am an intelligent human being. I get this intellectually, but then we want to, try and demand ourselves to follow it versus understand there's some physiological stuff going in there that's kind of like, preventing that. So, it's a really interesting thing, isn't it, to kind of
It's
observe and have an awareness. Yeah.
it's so complex, and I'm in
Mm.
a I can't remember the exact name of the Facebook group, but it's basically for late diagnosed ADHD people. Someone wrote a post saying, "How would you describe the ADHD experience?" And everyone's talking about the dichotomy. It's like um, the chaos and the calm. Or like I wish I could remember all of the things
Absolutely.
that people
Yeah.
explain, but it's that.
Yeah.
But and also I noticed that throughout my life, though both of those parts of me have served me to get me to where I am today, and I'm noticing it's the same for you.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's the thing. It's about looking back and not being um, upset. Or I think a lot of people that I come across that are talking about maybe past experiences or things that they've changed in their life or healed from or grown from, and they kind of view it in like like I can't see that version of myself, or I can't look. I think we have to embrace all of that because that is what helped us to achieve whatever it is that, or get, even if it is just in this current moment of awareness. If someone's in that a moment of awareness about themselves, well, that person got you there anyway, right? So you've got to, have grace, I guess, for that. All those versions of us that got us there, even if if the scales were unbalanced for a bit, and the decisions we make and the choices we make in that time, like I think we're all, I truly do believe we're all just doing our best at any given time.
Yeah, I do as well, even though there's a bit of a shitstorm going on globally at the moment
Yeah.
and so much division happening again. And it's like, oh my God. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's probably
Horrifying.
not for this podcast, but
Horrifying.
it's just, it can feel really heavy and it
Mm,
can feel, I think it's about what we choose to let into our world as well, because
yeah.
as we know, for neurodivergent people, we've got big feelings.
Mm,
And I
absolutely.
know for myself, I had to stop watching the news and I had to stop watching certain things years ago because it was just weighing so heavily on me
Yeah.
to the point where I already had some other stuff that was going on in my world, and everywhere I looked felt negative, and I couldn't absorb that into my conscious awareness
Oh,
anymore. I had to make a decision.
100%. Yeah, I totally hear. And I think I was talking about this at an event I was at recently, and I was on a panel and we were talking about how we have to find ways to be able to protect those boundaries and to protect that peace, and make choices so that you can actually see the positive and focus on the bits of life that are thriving, and that energy. Because if we just look at the tough stuff or the stuff that gets it, like we're going to see it everywhere. We're going to see it on the
Yeah.
news. What we hear, we're going to hear it in our friends' stories. We're going to hear it in our family stories. We're going to hear it we're going to see it in our kids' challenges. We're going to see it everywhere. So you have to literally like make that conscious choice that I'm giving myself permission to still thrive and still focus on what's going good, and allow myself to celebrate that, even though there's really shitty, horrible things happening. And sometimes that's turning off the news, or it's saying, I can't take a phone call from that person during my work day or something. Like I can't have my energy in that space. So yeah, I hear it's like that living in, duality constantly.
Yes, duality, the world of duality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me what has been, I know you've gone through such rapid change, and I can't believe it's been 8 years. There's been
I
so,
know.
like,
Oh my
literally
gosh.
almost like your entire life.
Literally. like
Every aspect.
marriage, like living, like honestly. So if I look back, I go, okay, so I was like married to a man. Ew. No.
No offense,
Sorry.
Brad, and all the
Yeah.
other men out there.
I was married to a man. I, was in a corporate job that I fucking hated, but I was doing well in. So you just go, okay, well, we just got to keep doing it. Constantly in a battle with my brain and my body. I was trying to be the perfect mum. I was, 50 kilos heavier than what my body really should be to be healthy and comfortable. I was allergic to exercise. I I had it coming at me. I've got, very tricky family dynamics and everyone's energy coming at me. And I was always kind of the like the fixer or the problem solver in my as a theme. And so, and I just kind of that was just all happening, right? And now I go 8 years later, I'm divorced, I'm married to a woman. Oh, and also financially, I was financially so like, oh my gosh, like, and I worked in finance forever, but because I was living so out of alignment with myself, dopamine hits, spending, we were young adults trying to make our way in the world, and we were just living at such a pace, so busy, had to be constantly busy, 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 and that costs money. So up to our eyeballs in debt, stressed about finances, like it was just, oh my gosh, I can't even. And now I go, I'm married to a woman. My total friendship circles are different. I have done so much work on my own understanding about my relationship with money and, actually putting in all the professional advice and being able to align that to myself. I've had the knowledge. It hasn't been a lack of knowledge. There's been that disconnect emotionally and what has been happening in my life to get myself to a position where I felt confident to quit my job, and start a business and back myself in and have the confidence to do that. I've run a marathon. I exercise every day. Everything about my life is different, and it's just like blows my mind. And it really is. I just look at it, I go, gosh, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Anyone's like, anytime someone's struggling with something, I'm like, please, let's talk. There is, nothing, like we are so in control. And that's really daunting and horrible and hard. And I don't dismiss that because it's been a tough 8 years, let me tell you. But
That's
yeah,
an important point to note as well. And I say this all the time to my coaching clients and other people that I work with and that sort of thing. And often, I don't know if it's the same for you, I quite often find it's very much easier to notice other people's problems and help them with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And notice my own problems and know what to do with it for the longest time until I've learnt the lesson many, many times and then go, oh, yes, okay, I need to apply that for myself.
Yeah.
And something that I've definitely noticed is the possibility filter is really important to just sometimes even if it's just getting out of bed, even if it is just getting dressed, washing your hair, whatever the thing is that might seem impossible today, doing that one thing, just starting with one thing, because it can feel like all of the things, and especially ADHDers, all of the things need to be done, and they all need to be done right now because it's either now or not now. And everything feels urgent, and it's a lot of people struggle with prioritization but I can't do that thing until I've done that thing, and then that thing needs to be done, and that needs my attention.
And then you don't give yourself that permission to take that step until that thing's been done. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone that feels like that's great that you are both talking about how you've had these amazing journeys and you've gotten to this point? What advice would you give them if you were to reflect back on the previous version of you?
Yeah, I love that question. And I love that you said about breaking it down, because for so many years, and I think that, well, I know because I talk to a lot of people about this stuff, so many of us spend so many years just trying to get to the other side of whatever we're trying to achieve overnight. And when it doesn't happen really quickly, we beat ourselves up and we drive ourselves further into that hole. And we don't even realize we're doing it, but that kind of constant self-judgment. And so, yes, I know I say it from the privilege of being through the journey, and it's different messaging from when you're at the beginning of it. And it, like roll your eyes, oh. But I think, stopping, very first step is just stopping and reflecting. Like if you can give yourself permission to just look at yourself, really look at yourself, no judgment, no shame, no nothing. As you mentioned, is it that I really struggle to shower? I really struggle to get up and make my bed. I really struggle to, for me, it used to be my kitchen. Like I would have probably 5 days worth of dishes. Like I just couldn't do it. And, you know, that overwhelm or whatever that task is, I can't run, I can't do this. Observe what your thoughts are, observe what you're eating, how you do, what are you doing? Like you've got these ideas about what you're wanting to, whether it's a health related thing or a work related thing or a relationship related, whatever it is, you've got this idea that you want to achieve. It feels impossible. I could never do that. Well, just observe how you're showing up in that space right now without changing it, because the change is overwhelming. So it's just like, okay, I'll just learn about what I'm doing. So if it's health for me, it was writing down what I was eating. What am I eating? Because I think I'm doing okay. And then you, oh, okay, now I've seen this, and what we think and what we, you know, the fact and thought, very different. So I think first step, observe, and then I'm not sure if it's advice, but more so just sharing the experience, like the lived experience of, yeah, we've all done that. I'm going to do the diet and I'm going to do this, and maybe it works for 5 minutes and we go backwards, and it's because we're trying to solve it all overnight and we want the quick result. And if we don't get it, we give up. Look to others who have done it. So perhaps that is us who are talking about journeys and things that we've sustained. And I don't know, I speak from genuine joy. Like it's not a gloat. It's not I'm just so excited for what humans are capable of. Every time I do something that I thought I could never do, I'm like, oh my God. And I think if you look to people that are doing that, like what did they do? And I think we're all saying the same thing, that you got to take the first step and just trust the process. Because if you can slow it down, and if you can't execute on that, perhaps it is a medical intervention that you need. Maybe it is something, you know, like for me, I could say all this, I could have heard all this, but I know for me, the catalyst was taking the medication, which slowed down my brain, which allowed me to execute on all those things. And I look at it and I go, the running journey. I remember going for a walk and I hated it. I used to say, oh, I wish I was one of those people that liked to go for a walk. I wish I was one of those people that liked to exercise. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm up, so I'll just go for a walk. And then I just made that, okay, I'll just do that every day. And then I remember the first time I ran a lap of an oval, like, you know, tried to do it and half laps. And then my first kilometer, which was walk run, but I got to a kilometer, and then like, you know, doing park run 5Ks, and then do it, like working that up to getting to a point of doing a marathon. That didn't happen overnight. Like it, yeah. You know what I mean? Like it took time, but I look at it and I go, I say to people when I'm chatting about this, and you might talk to a woman and she'll say, oh, for the last 20 years, or, you know, I've got family members who, you know, particularly different generation, they talk about their weight and, oh gosh, you know, and they've been doing it for 40 years. And I go, imagine if today you just made a small step. And if it's in 8 years, like, and it's not like I just arrived here, probably 6 years in, I'd say I've been, you know, pretty stably here. 6 years from now, so you spent 30 years doing it one way and it's not working and you're miserable and you hate it and you're bullying yourself. Imagine if 6 years from now, you're exactly where you want to be. Is it really that much time? It's not that long. Like make a 6-year goal. Why does it have to be a 8-week challenge, you know? So I think, yeah, like it is tough because we do want quick results. And maybe it's making those results smaller and more, you know, I don't know, like being able to break that down to tick something off, because we want the little hit, we want the excitement, we want the reward. I get that. I do get that. But yeah, I think I look around, and anyone that I connect with who's had really significant life transformations, it was a process. And I think, yeah, learning to embrace that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And the reflection piece, actually taking stock of where your life is at. So many people don't actually take the time to do that. With the busyness of life and the pace of life, actually sitting down to go, hang on a sec, how is my life at the moment? And there's a really cool, I'm going to share this as well. I'm just going to make a note for myself so I don't forget. It's called The Wheel of Life. Have you seen that? It's a free download.
Yes. Oh, I have. Yeah, and
it's like a wheel. It's got all the pie. It's like a pie chart or a wheel, and you can actually change it to your own sections. So it's got health, finances, all of the different things, relationships. Some people could put spirituality or religion, whatever's important to you, professional development, and you can rate yourself out of 10 in each of those areas. So you can visually see where your wheel's clunky, and then from there you can actually. And it's a really good way to benchmark for yourself, or have a visual representation that you can check in on in 6 months' time, in a year's time, in a couple of years' time, and look back on and go, cool, what is the one thing that I can start on with the thing that maybe is the lowest in that wheel or in that pie chart. And
And I love
start
it. It's a really good point, because think about it, like we're doing some renovations on our house at the moment, right? And we get so upset when we didn't take a before photo, because you can't really appreciate it because you forget. And then we try and dig up photos, right? And it's like your own before photo, like mentally or spiritually, where you're capturing your state of mind in that moment. And whether it's doing a color wheel, or it's so cool we have technology, if you're comfortable, like blabber onto yourself and just do some voice notes about how you're feeling about something, or what you're working on, or what you're going to be excited about, or make some notes, whatever works for you. But taking stock so that you've got that evidence to be able to reflect back on, because you'll very quickly move the goalposts and you'll very quickly forget where you've come from. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, it's not good enough because I need to do more. And I'm not there yet. But yeah, I think it's so powerful to do that reflection, A, for that, but B, to get real with yourself, because I think a lot of the time, and again, it's no judgment in this, I've been here, we kind of adopt a bit of a victim mindset. And I think not consciously. I think most of what we do as humans is not conscious. We're just so busy and we're just going with it, right? But so many times we find ourselves or others and we're talking about something that's not going well in our lives, or something we're upset about, but we rarely stop to reflect, how am I contributing to the problem? It's always, yeah, like that person did that thing to me, or they took my opportunity, or they did this, or, that was
all
really
happening
unfair.
out there.
It's all happening out there. Yeah. Whereas when you really stop and look, you kind of can't hide from your own observation. And that's really scary. So yeah, I think make sure you surround yourself with podcasts and everything you consume, podcast support groups, community groups, therapy, if you're in a position to be able to access that type of support, where you can safely observe yourself, to be reminded not to judge what you do, because it can be tough what you uncover.
That is so important as well. I think the support, tapping into support in whatever way works for whoever's listening it or watching, whatever works for your life, because even if you don't have a support person that you feel comfortable talking to, there's so many other resources out there, and free resources. I mean, especially in Australia, we have access to so many free, amazing resources, and I can link some of those below as well. I love what you said about taking stock. And I think something I've heard myself say this, and I've heard other people say this, is almost like once you know, you can't unknow it.
Oh, absolutely.
Once you see, you can't unsee it. So it's almost like now I have to make a choice about what I do with this, because it's there now. And I was a co-author in a book many years ago, and my chapter was called Shedding My Chameleon Skin. But one of the things I talked about, I didn't know about I kind of knew, but I didn't have the language about ADHD back then.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was about how I'd always shape-shifted and tried to change myself to suit my surroundings my entire life. And similar to yourself, left home at 16. Well, actually, I was at boarding school from 14, and then I was living independently from 16. And so I was figuring out myself based on what the world was doing around me and what people were doing around me, and I was constantly changing. And then also ended up, because I'd grown up in an environment that was quite toxic and it was very volatile, and there was a lot of dysregulation, let's say, from that. I sought that out in relationships, not knowing. Yeah. And so the victim mentality was strong with this one for most of my life. Yeah. And it wasn't until I discovered this world of personal development and professional development that I started realizing, oh my God, is it me? Am I the problem? How people say that in the me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And it is like, and how I feel like a lot of people are afraid to go onto that journey and understand that. But then, I don't know, I've never really met anyone that's kind of broken through some of those barriers and things that are holding them back and gone, oh, I really wish I didn't uncover that.
Yeah.
I didn't know, right? Like, it's like once you get to the other side, you're like, oh my gosh, oh, that's crazy that I learned that about me. But you're doing the work as you're going, and you're kind of building on it. And I think, even my coming out, like I look at that in I would say victim mentality, right? Like in the essence of, being in a relationship that I was so unsatisfied in. And yes, we both had parts to play, and I don't want to talk about him specifically, but, always just kind of feeling like I wasn't living my value. I wasn't living my truth. There was something like why, and we had a like non-monogamous relationship. So I was kind of like trying to work things out, and we were doing what we were, whatever we were doing. But it was always kind of like, you know, me being like, oh, well, if he just did that, if he just did that, and if he just did that, da, da, da. And then actually the power came the day that I was able to sit there in tears and give him a hug and say, I love you so much, but I'm gay. Like, you know, like this is me. This is a me problem. And that was, you know, empowering and horrible. But it really, yeah, okay, any two humans that get together at 16 and spend a large majority of their lives together are going to find things to pick on each other, of course. But really, at the end of the day, if I had have been prepared to not look outward and just look inward earlier, I probably would have understood what was happening for me much earlier. So, yeah.
That's a huge one. That's
yeah,
massive.
it is. Yeah.
And another thing as well, it's so empowering. And again, I don't want people to be rolling their eyes when they're listening to this, but we've both experienced this, the empowerment that comes from owning your shit, like the ownership, accountability, responsibility, that oar, like take your oar and row yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you're up shit creek without a paddle, grab the paddle.
Yeah.
Take ownership, take accountability, take responsibility,
Absolutely.
even if it scares the shit out of you, even if it feels like, how am I going to get through this? I don't know how I'm going to get through this. We didn't know how to get through it either. But piece by piece, small thing by small thing, small change by small change, support networks, learning as much as we can. I think that's something that I've noticed we're both absolutely obsessed with is learn as much as you can. If you don't know something, find out. We're in this age of technology. We talked about technology before. We're in this amazing era of technology where everything is at your fingertips. Please ensure that you're getting reliable sources. But we've got all of this amazing information. If you don't know how to do something, find out. Like it's so easy to find out.
Oh, it is. Like nothing's hard to gain access to. It is that. And I think this comes back to, it just reminded me, we were talking earlier, and I was saying about having children that are neurodivergent and making choices in their lives. And maybe this is not just for neurodivergent children, but children, young people going through puberty and growing up and making their own life choices. You know, when we have that kind of, I don't know if it's a personality or a characteristic or something that is that I'm going to work it out and I'm going to do this. And that's that ownership, even if we make the wrong choice. And then later on, we have to look back and go, oh gosh, that wasn't so great. And, you know, learn from it and take accountability for any consequences that come with it. If you're kind of driving that momentum forward, it is something I don't even know. Like I'm not talking about this to give any advice. It's more so just calling out something that I'm totally stumped on. Maybe someone that listens will say, hey, I've got something that will help you. Is when you have people in your life that you love so much and you see all of their potential and their capabilities and they're struggling with it and they're not taking that and they're just going, no, let's go sit back. It's too hard. And you're going, like, go forth and conquer. Like you've got everything you need. And I wonder what is the difference there? What is that? Because I see it, I don't judge it and society does. Society judges it. And it is very hard when there are people, whether it's children, siblings, people in your life that you love very, very much and you see them and society wants to judge them for what they aren't doing. That you're like, I know that they don't want to live in a way that, like, I know they want to thrive. We all do. So what's happening in their body and mind that's not a possibility for them right now? Like I don't.
And there's usually, I mean, I'm just hugely generalizing here, but as we know, when people are in suffering mode, let's call it that, because generally when people, especially when we think about substance abuse and we think about people that are staying within violent relationships, which I've had experience with both of those things, it's because there's unresolved trauma usually. You know, if we boil it all down, there's usually something going on underneath all of this. And this is like probably another podcast as well. And I'm not a trained psychologist or counselor, and I know you and I have both kind of been really interested in this space. But, you know, and please, if you are in this space, please speak to your healthcare professionals and go and get help because it's so, so vital. And I feel like from what you've shared and from my own experience as well, I mean, I've spoken quite openly that I've spent the equivalent of a deposit for a house on my healing and seeking professional help and really saying, no, not just noticing it and going, holy shit, my life's a dumpster fire, but looking at it and going, holy shit, my life's a bit of a mess right now. How can I improve it? What can I do? What's the one thing that I can do?
That's right.
That was a lot of things to basically to go in there, and I don't know if I've kind of segued way off what we were just talking about.
That's all right.
I'm just really mindful of time, and I want to honour
That's
your time
okay.
because you've graciously shared this time with me today. I've got a really cool segment that I don't know if I know you said you looked at a couple of the podcasts or listened to them, and it's called Tangent Time, and it's how I wrap up the session. So it's
I haven't heard this, so this
Oh,
means
you
I haven't gone
haven't?
to the end of an episode. I've like bounced.
You've
Okay,
done the
cool.
ADHD thing.
Yes,
Yep,
yeah.
go forward to be. No,
My
that's
gosh.
okay. That's totally okay.
Okay.
So it's just it's nothing to stress about, just some rapid fire questions. I encourage you to answer with the first thing that comes up.
Oh
Are
my
you ready?
gosh. Oh, I'm ready. I'm terrified. My prefrontal cortex goes, woof. We don't work anymore, but let's go. Anytime
I'm not prepared.
I'm like, do I have a thought? I don't know.
You
Go.
100% do. So many amazing thoughts. Okay, so the first question is, you come home and there are dishes in the sink. What do you do?
That's not really fast. Yeah. What do I do? If my wife's coming home and my kids have left them there, I'll put them away so I don't have to hear that. Gosh, don't teenagers put their no, they don't. What do I do? Yeah, no, I leave them. They don't bother me.
Okay, great. Inside or outside?
Or outside.
Awesome. Noisy or quiet?
Quiet.
Yes.
It shocks people because they're like, but you're so loud. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then I'm not.
Same and same. If you were a snack, what would you be?
Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. I think oh my gosh, maybe like a picnic.
Ooh, I do like
I'm
a
like,
picnic.
yeah.
Tell
Do
me
you know,
more.
I was like, I think I'm quite sweet by nature. Like I like to think about myself. Maybe I'm not, but I think I do like, but I'm a bit crunchy too. So I don't know. That's what came to mind. I was like, maybe I'm a picnic. Maybe I'm a bit of a nutter. I don't know.
I love it.
Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
it. And the last question is, what is currently living in your head rent free?
Oh gosh, 7 billion things. Shall I just go through my emails from myself this morning at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3:05, 4:05? Gosh, what is so many things. Is it supposed to be a funny answer?
No, it can be anything. I know it's a bit of a like from fun to like, whoa.
Yeah,
Be a little
like
bit more
it's
serious.
I mean, the thing that is on my mind more that is hovering constantly, that it doesn't matter how I'm doing this, I'm thinking about it. I'm working, I'm thinking about it. Is straddling that space of, is there something more I can do to help this young person I love to make a different choice, or do I need to accept that we're all autonomous human beings and part of my role in their life is to let them experience consequences and be here for them along the way whilst protecting myself? And what do I do? Should I be fixing it? Is there more I can do? Should I let it go? Maybe I need to go back to therapy.
Yeah, that is a big one. And it's a
Yeah.
lot, isn't it? And
it is.
what I'm
Yeah.
hearing underneath all of that is, and even underneath seeing the potential in other people that you really care about, and maybe feeling a little bit frustrated that we can see the light in them, we can see the potential in them that potentially other people can't see, and we know that they could potentially thrive. And also having to sit on the sidelines while they figure it out for themselves if they choose to. And the added layer of when it's your own kids or your own family.
Yeah.
And I'm not a parent, so I don't even know from your perspective what that must
You have humans in your life you love, so there would be a sense of relatability, no doubt. And yeah, I think it is that, absolutely.
Yeah, the balance between being there for people,
yes,
and holding space for them,
uh-huh.
and wanting the best for them. And can I be that person that offers that advice? How do you? But one thing I do, and I don't know if this will work and if it'll help, or if you've already considered this, you probably already have. Is how can I serve you, or how can I show up for you? What would help you? And if you don't know, would you like to help me to help you figure it out together?
Yeah.
Like, how can I, what is it that I can do to support you with this? How do you need me to show up for you?
I love that question. I think, sorry, well, I'm like,
I know this is
it's like psych for Sam.
I know, I love it.
But I think, yeah, because I love that question
too. Help other people, right?
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in that question, and very much like because I think on the other side, particularly when you are somebody that is, I get very excited about what humans are capable of, and I love to empower, but I also understand for somebody who doesn't see that in themselves, that actually can feel really quite smothering and a bit too much.
Confronting.
Like you want more of me than I even feel is I want or is possible right now. So I try to be really mindful of that, and invite the conversation around like I just want you to know I'm here. I'm not trying to give advice. I just want you to know I'm here. How can I help you? Do you need anything from me? Are you able to share with me anything that I can do more of, less of, or anything to support you? And I think the tricky thing is then you really hope you get a response to that versus a like, nah. And then again, then you come back into the, but I know you can have that conversation. I want to help you to have that conversation. So you come back into trying to, help them again. When, if they're maybe saying like, no, not right now. So it's that constant, battle, I guess, of being in that space of, and particularly, yes, maybe it is as parents or, I don't know, siblings, family members, when you have experienced something and you go, there's so much more relatability in our story than you understand, whether it's, a young person or another adult. There's so much relatability, and maybe you're looking at me right now and thinking, you wouldn't get it because your life's different. But like, remember, I've been through a bit. Like, I get it. I promise you. Like, there's no judgment here. I'm here with you. I understand it more than you maybe realize. But at the end of the day, we have to be open to people, support, being there for it, like who we want to vibe with and connect with at various points in our journey. So, yeah.
Definitely. And meeting people with where they're at is what I'm hearing through what you just shared, because it can be just, do you want me to just sit with you while you just sit?
Exactly.
Like good old Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to sort of add or share to wrap things up? I know we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. Oh my gosh, I know. No, I think we've covered so much. Thank you for inviting me on. I've really enjoyed this. I think, this is so nice. We knew we'd have a good time chatting.
I know.
This would be fun.
Listen to us, I think was what I said when I reached out.
That's right. No, I mean, I feel like I could just chat to you for hours. So without launching into a whole new topic, I think I'll just say thanks for having me.
Definitely. And who knows, maybe we could do this again sometime, because I feel like we've really I feel like I say this all the time as well, because there's so much that goes into our worlds and into our life, and the added layer of neurodivergence. I feel like we've only scratched the surface. So I would love to have you on again sometime if you'd be open to it.
I would love it. Yes. And I'm my podcast studio is being built right now. It's so exciting. So I'll have a proper space and I won't have to do blurred background in my mum's kitchen.
Oh, awesome. I love that. And Brad and I are probably going to be moving back into our house here in WA in the next few months as well. And I'm intending to do the same thing, actually creating a really cool little podcast space.
Love it.
Awesome, Sam. Thank you so much again. Really appreciate your time and your thoughts and how openly you've shared.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in. I trust that you got some value from this conversation today. If there was something in this conversation that you think would help someone else, please share it with them. Feel free to check out @The Wise Owl Coach. I'll also link below. Bye for now.